She almost saw me. Bead coming out of my shirt like a bomb about to explode. Boom, a boom, a boom, a boom. This is all getting much more difficult. It started with just one. I love you. Very, very quiet, very small, but audible. I love you. Said to the back of her head as she moved through the room, holding hands, smiling, brushing back a tear. If she turns around in the middle of, I love you, I thought, she'll catch me. She'll catch me and she'll hear and she'll see and she'll know. She'll catch me and I'll be happy to be caught. But one I love you wasn't really enough. One I love you was too subtle. So I advanced to two. I love you, I love you. Still she didn't turn in time. So I went to three. I love you, I love you, I love you. Nothing. Now I'm up to 9. And this is the first time she's almost seen me say it. What would I have done if she had? It's been 9 times since the first at Carl Grunwald's funeral. Tessie in a red jacket. Somewhat inappropriate, admittedly, but it stands out, and that's the point. In a red jacket, moving through the room, looking for her flowers, handing out her card. I was standing next to the casket when doing what we funeral directors do, and it struck me. All the years I've known her, same town, same people, how we're always flung together. Then suddenly she's in my thoughts. She's in my mind, first thing in the morning, last thought at night. I watched her, me standing next to Carl, Tessie giving her real estate card to Ruth Grunwald. Tessie never presses a card, they always ask. She doesn't push, but they do go home with her card every time. I looked at her in her red jacket, in her black hair, in her blue eyes, white skin, and said, I love you. Even Carl could have heard me, but Tessie didn't. She came up to me and said, Carl looks good. Thanks. He's lost a lot of weight in the hospital, 6 weeks. I think we brought him back to snuff. She smiles. Margaret Mary Walsh approaches the casket and we turn. Tessie and I turn to face Margaret Mary together. Both of us greeting her like a couple, the most natural thing in the world. It's been 9 times now. Next time I'll go up to 10. Nettie James died yesterday. She was 103. Been on the verge of death for 28 years. Coal money. Very rich, terrible woman. The Herald Star made up a headline for her obituary that read, Nettie James finally dies. Civic and social leader succumbs after a lifetime of condescension and bullying. They didn't print it. It's a big affair, private service. I got Tessie in. Not that the James family is going to sell the house on Norton Place, let alone use Tessie's real estate company. But it's good for Tessie to be seen, and I got her on the list. She's in the visitation room. Nettie James looks very small in her casket. She was tissue paper and cobwebs these last few decades. I'm up to 12. I love you, 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 I love you. She never turns. Admittedly, I tend to start my chant when she's deep in conversation with someone. Margaret Mary Walsh, Bottle Clock, Art Wise. So there's little chance of her suddenly turning to look at me. Wouldn't it be wonderful if she suddenly turned to look at me? What if I could catch her eyes, suddenly turning to look at me? A man can always feel a woman's irises clicking in her head when she turns to steal a glance at him. He can feel it in his peripheral vision. A little blue and white whip. It's you and back. Look back at her, the blue whips away. If I could feel that, then I know. There's nothing more obvious in life than one person looking longingly at another, unless it's a person desperately trying not to look at all. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I hate her name, Tessie. Not Teresa, not Tess, Tessie. She used to be married, Marvin Van Kirk. He's at Wintersville High, teaches math. Expectations plus Marvin equals reality. They're still friendly. Marvin remarried, Stella Calabria. Tessie got a real estate license after the divorce. Got the idea when Johnny Chris, Joe Bethel, and Dale Featheringham, and the rest of the 10%ers all came to her mother's funeral. Now Tessie's part of the pack, but she's different. Or maybe I just think she's different. No, she's different. I love you, I love you, I love you. We go into the service. The Reverend Dr. James A. Zimbro III is officiating. I won't say Jim's an unimaginative minister, but he is known in the trade as the Reverend Dr. Insert deceased name here. He begins, the love that lasts. My mind wanders to other places. It's a depressed real estate market. That's why Chris, Bethel, and the whole bunch swooped down so. It's hard for Tessie though. She's talented, but she has more than promise. I know that. The way she can describe a house, I've almost bought for myself. She's on commission and it's getting tight. Slow season. She tells me about wanting to travel, to get away to Mexico, the Berkshires, Spain. I tell her how difficult it is for me to get away. No slow season. She laughs. Her laugh. Her smile. Flashing eyes, her floating hair. She's not had an easy life. Father was an alcoholic. Mother spent 12 years dying in the state hospital. The divorce. She wears a pacemaker, something congenital to regulate her heart. I love you, I love you. I have to help her. I will find a way to help her. I've started to give Tessie advance word of imminent deaths. Sometimes I get a warning, hospital, police, a friend in power. Last week, Bill Goodpasture tells me his wife Marge has a brain tumor. Bill thinks she may not last the week. Marge looked so old the last time she came here. And Bill still looks like Paul Newman on sheep gland injections. Marge is dying. The house is too big. Bill told me, I told Tessie. Unethical? Maybe. It's a slippery slope. The passion is a bracing lubricant. I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm up to 17 now. I'm starting to think she knows I'm saying it, and that's why she doesn't turn. I've considered driving past her house at night, the light in the window, the nose pressed against the pane, but I've restrained myself. That way leads to madness. The padded cell, the perch in the book depository window. I am not like that. Why don't I just tell her? What's the worst that could happen? Mockery, humiliation, a howl of derision followed by 20 years of averted glances? There should be some kind of a safety net for these moments. A magic shroud you could use. You go up to the woman and you say, I've been meaning to tell you, I love you. If she says, I love you too, great, fantastic, everybody goes to the prom. If she gets red in the face, takes your hand and says, that's so flattering, you're such a friend. Then you say, Excuse me, but I have to lower the magic shroud now. And she forgets everything said to her in the last 30 seconds. You're such a friend. Knife in the heart. Anyway, Marge's good pastor died yesterday. Bill called from his Jaguar. Tessie came early to the service. I wanted to introduce her to Bill before the rush and the cremation. I am making this vow. If my I love you gambit does not prove fruitful, I will take drastic action. I will tell her my true feelings before the year is out. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Jim Zimbro is talking about the love that lasts, and I have 35 days. Tessie said, I hate you the other day. I think there's hope. At the Green Mill, we bumped into each other outside the bank, Christmas shopping. I offered lunch. She said she had to meet Bill Goodpasture to show his house. But, she says, and I quote her, oh, what the hell, let's have lunch. What do you think of that? We were talking about these last few referrals I've made her. She sold 3 houses, good commissions. She's breathing a little easier now, and she wanted to take me to lunch. I told her, you know, I can't keep slipping you these tips forever. We're going to run out. I'll have to start killing them myself. She laughs. She said, you're terrible. I hate you. She slapped me. Just my lower arm. Across the table next to the coffee cup. Her fingers brushed my wrist, near my watch. Skin to skin, and I almost jumped. Red-faced, adrenaline, dizziness, vertigo. Just a touch on my wrist. This has happened to me before, sort of thing. It goes away. I let it run its course, lasts a few weeks. This one is in its 11th month. Is it painful? It hurts, but not like hell. I'd rather have this particular pain than its particular absence. Desire plus denial equals, well, I'm not Catholic, so I don't know what the hell it equals, but it's gone on too long now. Fury or humiliation. I will tell her by December 31st, New Year's Eve. But I wish she'd guess it first. I wish she'd tell me, read my mind, read my lips. Maybe I'll start using code, writing I love you in the floral tributes, or underneath the lids of the caskets. Cryptography in the swirls of a dead person's hair. Find the Nina. Suddenly, out of nowhere, she asked me a question. Do you know when you're in love? Oh, my heart stopped. What? I said, she said, do you know when you're in love? Oh, yes. How? Well, I'm stalling for time. I'm trying to think, but I'm on fire. My brain is swimming. The floor tilts. A descent into maelstrom. Finally, I managed in a cracked voice at the bottom of my shoes. You always know. Knowing isn't the point. The point is action. The point is speaking. That kind of action. That kind of courage. Swirling in her eyes. Her hair. She is smart. She is bright. She has depth and breadth. And the world is lit by light. Why do you ask, I ask. She doesn't smile. She just looks at me. 3 seconds, eye to eye. 1, I love you. 2, I love you. 3, I love you. I'm shouting the words in my mind, but my lips are sealed. Surely she can hear me. Please, God, let her hear me. She breaks her stare. Never mind. She'll pay the check. I'll leave the tip. Exiting, I place my hand under her elbow, and she allows it. She doesn't comment. Outside, she kisses me goodbye. Cheek. Another detonation to the skin. My heart is racing. She walks away, and the last time I see her, she slips on a patch of ice, and then she rights herself and turns the corner. Today is December 7th, a date that will live in infamy. I have 24 more shopping days. Ed Carpellotti died, and Tessie didn't come to the funeral. It was a 3-day affair. I'd left a message on her machine telling her about Ed, just the usual, but there was no reply. Day passes, I call her again, get her machine, leave another message. No reply. 2 days more, the day of the burial, December 21st, the longest day of the year, I tell Jim Zimbro, we should go another day. Not everyone who would want to see Ed has had the chance. Jim looks at me like I'm nuts. You want to extend it? Well, what about Art Wise, I sputter, and Johnny Chris, and Joe Bethel, and Dale Featheringham, and Bill Goodpaster? Bill's in Florida. He went down Friday, he and Tessie. Boom, boom, boom. I slam down the coffin lid. Let's get this goddamn show on the road. I propel Ed Carpellotti into the service room, the coffin cart banging into the door frame as I turn on 2 wheels. My heart is pounding. Had she been seeing him long? Was it him she was talking about at the Green Mill? Did I miss something? Was I confused? Was there a code she was using? Had she been saying I love you to me and I just wasn't listening? Does she have any inkling at all? Am I a fool? Blood is crashing against the rocks in my ears. Bum, bum, bum. Will someone not stop this ridiculous heartbeat? Surely everyone will hear it. Everyone in the room can hear it. But they do not turn. They do not hear. They do not see. I am not caught. Afterwards, Margaret Mary Walsh takes me aside and tells me she has never been so moved by a service. The woman has always been good and kind, one of my regulars, so I do not hit her. I was on a bus in a large city, and sitting next to me was a young man. Across from the man was a beautiful woman. They were making eye contact. Look at him, look away, look at her, look away. Tension was enormous. We got off at the same stop, and as we stepped onto the sidewalk, the young man approached the woman and said, I noticed you on the bus. What courage that man had. What faith and daring. He had seen another face on this planet and thought to himself, I will not slink into the night regretting the lost opportunities, the might-have-beens. I will not die 1,000 cowards' deaths. I will gather every drop of strength I have. This will change my life. I noticed you on the bus. And the woman said so and walked away. He will always be my hero. The hospital called me at 11:22. An accident on the drive from the airport. Icy roads after Christmas. Slippery slope. Jaguar over the hill. Bill Goodpaster is dead. And so is his passenger. As Tessie's family is gone, Marvin Van Kirk will make the funeral arrangements. Marvin calls me after midnight Will I take care of her personally? Not one of the assistants or Pop, who still comes in occasionally. Me. You were such a friend of Terry's. Terry, huh? They bring her in the next afternoon. It's the law, when there's been no previous illness or attending physician at the time of death, to conduct an autopsy on the body, which means that certain surgical procedures have already been completed. I asked Pop to help me in the prep room. I don't want to be alone. He hobbles down, his cane, his shake. I notice her hair, gray at the roots. Was she letting it grow out? Or did she just not have the chance to color it? I attach the machine, I prepare the instruments, needles, tubes, her partial played out. I smooth the crow's feet around her eyes. I do what we do to her eyes, her lips. What we do is we seal them shut. The funeral is crowded. Johnny Chris is there, and Joe Bethel, and Dale Featheringham, and Reverend Zimbro, Mr. Phil in the blank. Zimbro asked Marvin if there's anything he should add to the service. I open my mouth. Say something about Mexico, the Berkshires, or Spain. I've spoken too loudly. Heads have turned. Across the room, I see my wife. Oh yes, Marvin tells us that it was Terry's wish to be cremated. Her ashes will be scattered over Mexico, says Marvin. Whenever Marvin and Estelle save up the money to have a real vacation. We do the final viewing, final service, casket is closed, and by 3 o'clock that at 3 o'clock that afternoon, Teresa's gone. Little known facts. Some things don't burn in a crematorium. Diamonds, some metals, heavier bones. Some things you can't burn, like pacemakers. The heat makes them explode, and you can damage the inside of the chamber. So it's important to remove them before you set fire to the body. I found this in the preparation room. I really should have given it back to somebody. Keeps on ticking. Tonight is New Year's Eve. My wife is upstairs in bed early. And there aren't any customers in the viewing rooms. For the first time in my memory, we are entirely empty. Turn around. Turn around. Look at me, sweetie. I'll say it 1,000 times until you turn around and catch me. I love you once. I love you